Welcome everybody! Unstoppable Steletsy is now here to bring you yet another Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition casted game today. So what I've offered you today is another one of those 2 versus 2 deathmatch games. This time we're actually going to have a lot of Native American civs, you know, one side with the Lakota, the other side with the Aztecs. So that's going to be something we don't always see in our deathmatch games. Before we see these native warriors go into real action, let's check out the map and see how that's going to affect the deathmatch overall. So, something you always get on these crossable river maps is these little crossable fords here, which you can usually identify by little things like rocks and grass and so forth along it. It's these nice big deep water areas without much plant or rock life here that you can tell you're going to need a ship across. These are generally pretty good choke points you can use. And you can put a lot of walls on them, you can obviously put your artillery on them, and that's going to make it hard for either side to cross it in general, so we're going to have to pay attention to that for sure. Anyways, let's get started now and see how good this Native American deathmatch is going to be. Alright, so one interesting thing you can do with the Native American civs that you can't do with the Europeans is you can take advantage of those big bun technologies at the town center. In particular for the Aztecs, they can send out some pretty formidable early groups of Jaguar Knights doing that. And with all those Jaguar Knights, essentially Aztecs are going to be able to rush forward with them towards their opponent here and catch them a bit off guard. Because normally, remember, with Europeans in deathmatch, the best that they can do to harass their enemy is send out the Minutemen from their starting town center. With Aztecs, though, they can take advantage of those 3 big bun technologies to amass a stack of 24 Jaguar Knights. Good against musketeers, good against cavalry, and good against villagers if you can mass them up against them, too, when their siege isn't half shabby either. Look at how good that siege is. See this right here? These Jaguar Knights are already starting to move into the area where the construction is taking place, and they're going to be able to harass us pretty well. Taking out a settler, that's going to halt some construction. They're going to try and make a move on the Minutemen as well, and then they're going to start trying to burn down as much structures as possible because of their 45 siege, which is pretty solid and something you would expect for hand infantry in general. At the same time, it looks like, Don Stowe has already gotten one of the native settlements and is moving in with those Romanian cavalry, the Boyars. That's also a pretty good move to make. A lot of early harassment here, and it's going to set the Portuguese and the Lakota back a little bit. Lakota are going to try to clean up, though, on Isle 5 using the Rifle Riders. Rifle Riders are a pretty good cleanup unit, you know. Not only are they dragoons that can wipe out artillery and hand cavalry, but they also have multipliers against heavy infantry, too. So they're kind of like almost a hybrid between like a skirm and a dragoon almost, right? Unfortunately, no multipliers against Light Cav, though, and in fact, Light Cav have a field day taking them out, because if you look at the Rifle Rider, it does have the heavy cavalry tag, not a fact that many people know. And basically what that means is, dragoons like these actually have multipliers against the Rifle Rider, even though it's a ranged cavalry. It confuses a lot of people, but it's a fact that not many people know about. You gotta be a pretty big expert in AoE 3 to pay attention to those little things and have experience with them. I know when I figured it out, I was like spamming Javelin Riders in every Wool CM game against them, and I started to get some real success. That's for sure. And I also got better in Arena against them as well, because I knew to spam Cowboys and stuff out. Now, one thing that you do also have to be careful with the Rifle Riders is hand infantry as well. Like these Skull Knights. Like, if you let the Skull Knights get into hand range of these Rifle Riders for whatever reason, they will do a lot of damage to them, and that's why you saw that really good kiting job. And they're also going to get some aid here by the Order Knight, which are basically renamed Black Riders from Portugal from their royal decree, as well as their Dragoons, which are also very formidable. As we know, the Portuguese Dragoons are really well known for their extra range because of their House of Order of... What's it called in Definitive Edition again? Let me see what it's called, the Order of Aviz. In Legacy, which I mostly play, it's simply called Genitors, right? Just like the AoE 2 Javelin Thorn Cavalry. Here it's called the House of Aviz. Yep. Order of Aviz, yeah. I gotta get used to these names, definitely. But anyways, it looks like in general the Dutch are making a move here with their riders and their skirmishers, trying to take advantage of this river crossing here, mixing in some of the House of Fanar units, the Evzone skirmishers, as well as the Boyar hand cavalry. Unfortunately, these mortars were brought up way too close to the front lines here, and they were wiped out by the Lakota units. Looks like Lakota have also added some House of Fanar native units as well. Aztecs mostly sticking to the Coyote runners. You're gonna have to be careful with that as Aztecs, though, because Aztecs, you know, their Coyote runners cost food and wood. So eventually you're going to run into problems when you start running out of that wood supply. How much wood do they got right now? They have to have a pretty good amount of wood right now. You know, they have like way over 10k, so they should be able to keep affording a Coyote spam if they need to. Even though I don't know why I would do that in this case, because Dragoons, Black Riders, they're definitely going to wipe that out. Even the Organ Gunners can be devastating against them because of that rapid fire attack. Now, a lot of people consider machine gun style artillery to be a counter to cavalry, but they actually can be in the right situations, because the way that these rapid fire artillery units work is instead of firing once, they fire multiple times, which ends up stacking the damage they do to the unit ultimately. And in some cases, like some units in Wars of Liberty, they pretty much counter cavalry, assuming they can be protected. Yeah, so you definitely have to be careful of that. I think in this case, if you're Aztecs, do you have any Arrow Knights yet? Any Arrow Knights? Yeah, you're gonna need Arrow Knights for these culverins and these organ guns for sure. Also to stop them from advancing with teepees, because the problem with teepees are, if these teepees go down, they're gonna boost the stats of all the Lakota units in the vicinity of them. So you need to make sure you snipe those teepee foundations when you can, before they become a real menace and drive them even deeper into your territory. Coyote runners making a maneuver towards the culverins, which they are going to try to do. They're going to take out one, maybe two. I don't think they're going to take out two by the quick work of these light cav and these organ guns. You're having a bit of trouble here as the Aztecs right now. What are the Dutch doing? Our Dutch Dutch seem to have repositioned here to help their ally out. They're going to put the riders on the front lines. Just a buffer that can deal with the light cav for now, but they're going to be driven back by the organ guns and their overwhelming rapid fire attack. Thankfully, Dawn also has some culverins going right now, so those culverins can slowly eat away at the organ guns while the riders act as a distraction for us. Coyote runners continuing to be produced here and starting to move on the front lines as well. And where is the Aztecs in terms of upgrades? So in general, Aztecs are one of the Native American Civs that has the most farming upgrades, so they tend to have a bit of an easier time with agriculture, though it does look like they have some focus on the water as well, should they want to do that. Which they are doing, actually. We see some fishing boats working over there. So yeah, Aztecs are going to try to take advantage of the sea as well as some of their farming, which is going to be essential to their economy. Yeah, Native American economies, you know, they're a bit wonky, you know. They're not as easy as the Europeans who can usually get away with just mills, right? Native Americans sometimes have to mix it up a bit. For the Lakota, instead of doing all that, they just eat bison, right? Because they get so many hunting-related cards that they just continue to ship bison in using the infinite shipments. Whereas Aztecs, they can focus a little bit more on the farming, but they can also do fishing too. So you gotta play it by ear based on the Civ. Definitely. And when are we going to see sort of a push forward here by Dawn and the Aztecs? Because right now it seems like they're still on the defensive, you know. They're constantly being charged at by the Lakota. Lakota are going to be a hard one to move right now because they have established teepees right now. Those teepees being established are going to grant additional stats to all of these units in that vicinity. And it now looks like Wakina rifles are also constructing additional teepees right now. If you didn't know, Lakota actually have access to the aggressive policy card, which actually allows your war hut units to build war huts and corrals. So that's one thing you probably didn't know. And then also, there's another card in here which I don't recall actually allows your nomadic expansion enables Lakota infantry to construct teepees. Yeah, back in Legacy, basically the battlefield constructions would also unlock you to build the teepees, but it looks like in DE that's handled by a separate card base. Pretty interesting, you know. I haven't touched Lakota in DE for a while, so I had to get reacquainted with that. Like, first thing in my mind jumped, oh, we sent battlefield construction. No, I guess it's another card that you can send that does that instead. I definitely like the effect, though, that improves the training time of your units. That's probably going to be really essential here because you're constantly going to be getting pushed in on by these strong Dutch and Aztec opponents, so you want your units to train pretty instantly, I feel like. And another thing, too, is while you can use your community plaza to make the units train faster, ideally you're going to want to keep them on the warrior dance like they are right now to keep your stats up, right? Yeah. Though rifle riders are known for their many different types of multipliers, you know, their base attack is nothing exceptional, right? It's pretty small, so if you can boost that up anyhow with the community plaza, that's much appreciated, right? Definitely. So yeah, right now it seems like Portuguese and Lakota are taking a defensive position now. They got the culverins in the center position, trying to wipe away the artillery. Castadors trying to protect them as much as possible, as well as the Lakota camping around their teepees with their rifle wires and their Burkina rifles, their skirmishers. Oh, and it looks like Kaiski is also coming in with some heavy cannon as well. That's going to be a big driving force forward. Looks like Dutch have lost their culverins, so this is going to give Portuguese an edge to start pushing forward now until more culverins arrive. Also, no Arrow Knights from Aztecs still, which, you know, that could definitely help against these artillery units as well. Maybe we'll see some Arrow Knights a bit later, potentially. That would be a pretty good tool to use, for sure. Yep, heavy cannons are rolling in. We're going to try to blast as many of these Aztec units as possible. And as we get later in this match, let's start checking out resources like economies. Dutch right now are not doing too good right now, you know. Dutch are pretty low on their coin and their food. As for Aztecs, they're doing a bit better right now, and they're able to keep up with their spam. Unfortunately, though, many of those units they want, like the Anton and Slingers and the Coyote Runners, are wood units, and wood seems to not be in their best stockpile right now. It's mostly the food and the coins, and they might have to start adding in some Noble Hut units. Yeah, now we finally start to see some of the Arrow Knights coming in. These are going to be really useful for wiping out the heavy cannons. Yeah, but they're going to have to get into a pretty reasonable range to start taking some snipes at them. Let's see if they can get into range pretty soon. Yep, I can see some Arrow Knights right over there sniping the heavy cannons one by one. And they're doing pretty well. They're going to take this one out. Ah, no, one arrow short. Isn't that bad, you know? You sit there trying to do a maneuver and you didn't even take out one of them. You were just one arrow short. That happens to us all, you know? You just miss the last hit and it makes a world of hurt for you, because then you really suffer. I don't know, though, what this Dutch and Aztec team is actually going to do here, though, because it seems like right now they're right up against their walls. These heavy cannons can easily blast their way through the Aztec walls, and they can really start plowing forward next. Yep, and that battlefield construction is really going to make a difference as well once these Burkina rifles want to start constructing forward buildings like the war huts and the corrals. Though it does seem like for the time being, villages are being used on the front lines as well to do some of this construction. That should basically enable a pretty good push forward here. Yeah, what's the plan to get them out? Blue guards? No. You don't want blue guards. Those are basically just musketeers with some sort of field promotion. That's not really good. You're probably going to want something a little bit harder hitting than that, like artillery and skirm or something. Yeah. Do they have any culverins in this army up here? No, they do not. Actually, they got one, but mostly it's heavy cannons right now. So maybe sneak some culverins up there, maybe get the Arrow Knights in there, because I feel like the spam of Coyote Runners is not doing a whole lot for you. Yeah, it's pressuring the Castadors a bit, but you're gonna need something more than that, I feel like. While you're pushing in with the Coyote Runners and trying to harass the Castadors, try to get some Arrow Knights in there and like snipe those heavy cannons away. Because right now, those heavy cannons can basically wipe out all their units, including some of their cav units, because of how high the damage is, like 200 damage. That's pretty good. That's a lot of damage output, honestly. You know, that can instantly kill a lot of things, you know. These infantry, that's like an insta-kill. For some of these low range. How about the cavalry? Like, yeah, cavalry can take a bit of abuse, but the infantry definitely die on one hit. Oh, interesting. So now we're starting to see some of the Red Lancers from the Dutch, some of these renamed Stratiates, given a bit of a Sauer style anti-skirmisher multiplier. Interesting addition. Yeah, these riders almost die in like 2 hits, those heavy cans, which is pretty insane. You know, since they're a 1-pop cav unit. Yeah, so they definitely have to wipe out these heavy cans, I think. Yeah, some Autondan slingers. Yeah, Aztecs are dipping into their wood really, really hardly here, and they're sort of struggling for that. Lakota doing excellent with their economy. Are they doing what I think they're doing? Are they doing the bison economy right now? They definitely got a lot of the estates work, and I see a farm here. Are they doing a fishing? Nope, the Aztecs are actually fishing the entire water from the looks of it. That's probably the only thing that's keeping them going right now, is that. Some Axe Riders are being added in as well. These Axe Riders should do pretty good damage against the Aztec units, unless they switch Jags or something. Definitely want to be careful of the Riders, though. Also, where are they shipping-wise? So, probably once they start getting some more hunted food, they can send the Great Hunter. Oh, they're going to get the Great Hunter now. Oh, yeah, so it does... Yeah, it maxes out at 1.5k food, so now Lakota are going to get a much-needed boost of food to their stockpile from the card, and then their hunting rate's actually going to go up even further, which is really going to help their economy out overall. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And do they have, like, the infinite bison? Yes, they do, so they can definitely rely on that for later, which is very useful. Oh yeah, this is something you might not have known if you just played the Asian Dynasties. Native American civs, through their native embassies, can actually access the captured howitzer as well as some of the outlaw units. And this can be particularly useful because this basically allows a civ like the Lakota that normally don't have artillery to actually take advantage of mortars and siege from long range with them. Yeah, this is definitely something Lakota are taking advantage of here, while the Portuguese seem to be holding their own on this side with halberdiers and Castadors, as well as the heavy cans. Oh, yep, Arrow Knights making another move in, but unfortunately way too close to the action. Coyote Runners are going to try to distract them a bit and give the Arrow Knights a good shot in. They're going to take one of the heavy cans out, but are they going to take out any other ones? I don't... Yeah, there's still halberdiers in there, so there's still a bit of a buffer there that's keeping the coyotes out at the moment and completely shredding them. At least they're doing a good distraction game, though, because unlike before, I see the Arrow Knights are actually still alive and they're slowly working their way in. Yeah, before the Arrow Knights were just getting wiped out before they even took out one of the cannons, but now, thankfully, they're able to take out a good number of them. They're going to take that one out as well. Perfect. Yeah, you got the last hit on that one that time. Yeah. If only that happened a little bit before, things probably would have been pretty good. So, what are they gonna do now? Because it seems like still Aztecs suffering pretty bad on their economy, right? For all the fishing boats that they're using, they're pretty much having to dip into their very reserves just to keep army going. And this is, you know, keeping them on a bit of the slower side, whereas the European powers that are fighting tend to have a pretty good stockpile, I feel like. At least the Portuguese are. How about the Dutch? Now the Dutch are actually pretty much struggling as well. It seems like only the Portuguese and the Portuguese are like doing super duper duper well, at least in the food stockpile. Lakota not bad either, but yeah, it's mainly because they got so many of their hills on the estates right now. Yep, definitely. Yeah, one thing you definitely don't get as Lakota though is estate upgrades, right? Like cigar roller, royal mint, that's like a European thing for the most part, or an Aztec thing. Get those sorts of technologies for the farming. Yep, Aztecs can afford a bit of another mass again. They're going to try to pressure the Cazadors with the Coyote Runners again. The one edge you got against the Cazadors is the fact that they're a pretty low HP skirmisher, so when it comes to like hack damage, you can hack your way through Cazadors in a pretty good amount of time, right? It's not that hard to do. Of course, until the Halberdiers get involved like this, yeah, Halberdiers will kind of shred them pretty easily. So you want to try to run it directly at the Cazadors as much as possible. Or yeah, do this, try to snipe heavy cans down one by one. You're taking advantage of their swarm. Yeah, finally you can try to push forward again. Yeah, finally you can try to push forward again. You just took out those heavy cannons. You can avoid all those stats on the field now, and you can try to push forward yourself with the Dutch artillery. Yeah. Take these Arrow Knights and try to snipe at the buildings, right? Take out this tavern and then start moving on the corrals, the teepees, the outposts, all those buildings. Let the Dutch do most of the fighting for right now. You know, the skirms and the riders are a pretty solid mix. In general, you're going to want to keep the riders back until they see rifle riders, in which case they will completely annihilate them. And then the Arrow Knights are basically there to just snipe at the buildings, you know. They're that sort of that hybrid between a culverin and a mortar you really need in this fight. Yeah, and yeah, you can send little swarms of the Coyote Runners out still as well to try to pressure at them, which can be pretty useful. Okay, how did this... Oh, wow. We're seeing Lakota doing sneak attacks with the Club Warriors. Yeah, they're going to have to be careful with this for sure. Wait a second. They really went in there. They've been doing this for a while. Look at how weak this factory is. Factory almost died. This is huge. You as a factory is Dutch right now. You're done. You're toast. You're buttered breakfast toast with jam and jelly on it. Yeah. Definitely. Because I don't see this Aztec ally of yours cradling you with economy at that point, slinging to you, because they are absolutely struggling themselves. You gotta keep your factories alive right now, because that's one form of economy you don't get back, right? You don't get that back at all. And it looks like they attacked it again, because didn't I see that the thing actually got damaged again? Yeah, that's insane that they keep doing that. They keep pressuring it. That just shows you how powerful the Lakota can be. And one more thing Lakota gets, which makes them really deadly in those aggro attacks, is they get a dance at their community plaza with the torch on it. That actually increases the siege of all the Lakota units, even beyond what they already are. So that makes them really, almost like Tarkans in AoE 2, like really good siege monsters. Particularly the cavalry, you know. Axe Rider, Bow Rider, Rifle Rider, they become like siege warriors when you use that community plaza dance. It's really useful. Yeah, this is another thing too that you should keep note of. Halberdiers, when they get close range, the skirmishers can almost act as good as hussars can. Yeah, many people think that hussars are like the only way you can rip apart through a big mass of skirms, but no, if you can get a group of halberdiers really close to the front lines where the skirms are popping out in their spawn points, the halberdiers can eat through a group of skirms almost as good as a group of hussars can. And usually for a cheaper price as well, because the halberdier statistically is a lot cheaper than the hussar. You know, only like 50 food, the coin is about 70, which, yeah, still less than the hussar, and also halberdier's only a one pop unit, so you can like have double the stack of them, which is really effective. Yeah, and then when the hussars of the enemy do come around, like these Dutch ones, the halberdiers rip through that as well. They rip through that as well. It's just really good overall. Yeah, I see that both the Portuguese and Lakota are trying to make inroads into this position here, right? This gap between the walls. Aztecs are going to try to fortify it by adding some more huts next to this wall here to provide a bit of cover fire. Dutch are going to work quickly to try to reconstruct a wall here to close it off. They definitely don't want their factory getting burned down again because they might not be able to save it this time. So they definitely need to make sure they protect that with their very lives. Also, somebody's using the Greek Revolution as well, which it looks like it was the Lakota. Granted them some Sacred Band infantry, these wonderful pro-stigma musketeers that the House of Fanar can bring you with that special ability. And also looks like the Aztecs and Dutch are once again getting a foothold on their land. Not quite out of the woods, they still need to start sieging their way through these forward buildings, but it looks like, again, they got a little window of opportunity to start, sieging in. Also, it looks like Lakota, looking here, have also burned through all their money at this point. All their money is basically gone. Dutch still struggling, especially in the coin area, but they've always been doing that this map, same with Aztecs. The fact that the Lakota, though, are kind of on the back pedal economically should give you a bit of an edge. You just need to make sure that you start wiping out their units. Yeah. Now that Lakota knows that their economy is down, they're going to try to camp behind these teepees as much as possible. Try to take advantage of really long-range units like the Wakina rifle and the rifle rider, as those are the least likely to get swiped under the rug for sure. Interestingly enough, now we're starting to see some more of the Jaguar Prowl Knights that we saw at the start of the game, and they're going to completely eat through these rifle riders no problem. One thing you need to make sure you do with range cavalry when hand infantry is added to the mix is you constantly keep moving them, because those multipliers against the cav also affects, dragoons, rifle riders, those sorts of things. And as you saw right there, the Jags had no problem just completely eating through them. Oh, now this is interesting. This is another thing you can do since Aztecs were the only ones to care about the water this game. They have decided to start putting their Tliwalk canoes on this fort here so they can start to harass the Lakota infantry. This is very useful because not only does it provide a distraction, this lets the Dutch know that the Lakota are making a move to try to... Oh, they are sieging through the base again. And they're going to try to make another move for the factory. I don't know. Are they going to save it this time? No, I don't think they're going to save it this time. This is bad. This is really bad. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. One club warrior dead, too. I think you almost just barely saved it again. That's unfortunate. It happens, but, you're going to be low on resources now. It's not going to be fun. Definitely not. Well, finally Dutch can get a bit of a breather finally, and they can actually stockpile some more resources, it looks like. Especially the coin, which they're doing pretty well in right now. They definitely got some food too for some cav if they do need it. But what you should be doing right now is playing, defensively. Use the artillery, blast the teepees apart, because if you can wipe the teepees out, Lakota units lose a lot of their value. So you need to work on that while you're doing it. Yep, Lakota are drained, they said. Yeah, look at this. This is the problem with, they just got slung by the Portuguese ally thing. Thankfully, you have a Portuguese ally that can sling like that. Yeah, Portugal's like really doing well with the resources, and they can afford to swing you a little bit. Yeah, the problem with the Lakota military is most of their units are cavalry, and thus they're pretty expensive to go with. So if you lose them really quickly, you're gonna have some problems, right? And the way you try to mitigate that is, one, using the teepees, number two, the community plaza. Looks like now the Lakota are trying to get their war chief back, and right now they're not even using the warrior dance to increase the damage on the units right now. That could be hurting them a little bit. But at the same time, I understand why they want the war chief. He helps the units move quicker. I believe he gives them a bit of an HP boost as well. So yeah, definitely. Oh, yep, now they got the siege dance active. Is any of the Lakota units in this vicinity? Why did they put the siege dance? Oh, yeah, now they're going to back to the attack one. It's about 35% improved attack right now. How many do they have on that plaza right now? So, yep, it's in full attendance right now, so they got everybody there. Yeah, definitely. It's finally good, though. The Dutch and Aztecs are finally holding on to their side of the river 100% now. That means that they can try to plan their way out of the situation, which might be able to help for sure. Giant grenadiers for the Aztecs. Not a sight you see every day, though. Yeah, that's a pretty fun idea. Getting them through one of the native settlements from Europe. Oh yeah, you gotta be careful with this war chief, man. All the cavalry units, even the war chief of the Lakota, actually have multipliers against artillery. Yeah, if you can believe that. It's pretty interesting. Yep, but now Lakota are gonna... Yep, you can see Lakota economy starting to recover now that they're shipping in the bison. Which they can do infinite times, by the way, since the bison shipping is infinite, so they can just keep adding them in. And I think at this point you're going to start to see Lakota start to bounce back a little bit and maybe start to really plow in here. And they're going to have to do that at some point because now, after some time alone, Aztecs and Dutch have finally had some time to start putting some forward buildings here. In particular, these noble huts and these war huts, which not only produce units, but they also fire arrows, giving a bit of cover fire to the units coming out of them. So yeah, finally we're starting to see a shift in the battle. It's a little bit more balanced and even between both of the factions, where now they're fighting for control of the river once again. Axe Rider. Yeah, Axe Rider would be pretty good right now. Get some Axe Rider. Yeah, get some Axe Rider. They'll be great against the skirms, and they can technically work their way through the riders as well with sufficient numbers, especially when you're camping behind the teepees to give them a little bit of HP. Yeah, because combat-wise, you know, Axe Rider's a little bit closer to Uhlans than Hussars, but yeah, they can dish out some hardcore damage to wherever they're fighting. Yep, here comes those Axe Riders right now. Nah, these are the Boyars. We're going to see Axe Riders as well. Nope, not quite yet. Oh, this Lakota is still trying to get into that Dutch base and burn their trickle buildings down, their banks and their last remaining factory. You gotta fix this wall. This is how they keep getting in. You know, this little patch, because I know it's hard because of the trees, but you just gotta do that. Because how else are these units getting the pathway into the base now? Yeah, thankfully you had some riders to work with to clean that up. But just one nasty distraction that's gonna hurt you on the front lines, because when you're busy trying to, you know, chase down these rogue native cavalry attacking your economy, you're not gonna focus on the fight at hand, and then you're gonna let them back in again. You know, you're gonna open the doors for them. We already got Portuguese moving in again with another group of heavy cannons and the howitzers, which they can use to start shelling the buildings on the river shore right over here. Yeah, exactly. You gotta work on that stuff, you know. One more thing we see, which is pretty interesting, is what you only see in Definitive Edition, is you see the usage of territorial claims. And this actually puts the C-10 Bowman, which you wouldn't normally think about this deep into the late game, into play, because it gives it a nice long-range siege attack, which it can be used against outposts, war huts, all these buildings on the front line. And of course, if you're running low on coin, which Lakota are doing right now, having that unit that costs food and wood does offset that spending of your resources a little bit, so you can actually recover them a bit. Yeah, those coyote runners are definitely working hard for a meal of heavy cannons for sure. They're gonna take, yeah, see, this is another blunder for Aztecs again. Aztecs just not able to reach the heavy cannons again. They didn't even hit the one that they were targeting. How are they even doing, Aztecs? Yeah, Aztecs are back on ice again, you know, in terms of resource. You know, they're not doing pretty good. But what are these, Eagle Scouts? Oh, that's interesting. I've never seen Eagle Scouts add in with the army before. Oh, they don't cost a population. Yeah, that's cool. That's a nice little addition you can add, I guess. And when it comes to the meatballs, they do like 21 damage. for a unit that didn't cost pop, that's reasonable. Yeah, for sure. I've just never seen them used in the deathmatch before. That's pretty cool. I guess at this point, you gotta add anything you can at this point, because you're literally on defense once again. It's basically relying on your Dutch ally to provide most of the army at this point. Because European economies like the Dutch can hold up pretty well, pretty sturdy through the game. And particularly their coin stockpile, which you can see here doing pretty good. They'll be able to make a lot of like horse artillery and culverins as needed for that. It should help them out, definitely. Whereas Aztecs are going to have to sort of scrounge with what they get at this point, just to defend reasonably. Cannot move there fast enough. What is it, lag? Yeah, lag can sometimes make it hard to move your units. Oh, so it means you can't get his heavy cans there quick enough, yeah. It's better to just hold them back until you know you're going to be able to use... Oh, this is what he meant. Oh, no. Oh, how... Oh, the Aztecs are using a battleship. They're using a battleship. Let's hope that they don't sink their battleship, though, because that would hurt pretty badly. Wow. That's a pretty nice sneak attack by the Aztecs. It's going to be intercepted, though, by Tokala soldiers. These very powerful lance cavalry of the Lakota. Yeah. Are these, yep, you're going to... Yeah, so basically, Kaishki has to take all his heavy cans off of the front lines, all this population, you know. How much population is a heavy can? About 7 pop. All this pop off of the front lines just to stop this amphibious assault right here. This is a pretty nifty tactic right here. Absolutely, yeah. And where are these Arrow Knights coming? So, yeah, these are back here. That's pretty smart, because now that gives you a bit of a better chance to hold on to the river now and try to move into your enemy now, because all these heavy cans are busy here trying to protect their coastline from naval raids. Yeah, try to save your battleship though. That's a ship you can't actually train, so try to keep that thing alive if you possibly can. Unfortunately though, it's taken a lot of the frontal hits, and I don't know if he's going to retreat that thing in time though. Doesn't look like it, nah. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to save that. Is he? Well, they seem to be doing a pretty good job of taking out the cannons, which is great. Seems like something's still targeting that battleship, though. Yeah. Yeah, this might change things up a bit now that you got some of the Portuguese population busy on that coastline. Sure. Arrow Knights of the Aztecs starting to work on the teepees, which I mentioned before is going to be really essential. While they're doing that, Dutch are moving in with their strong European military of horse guns, riders, skirms, trying to provide the general military stats needed for the assault, whereas the Arrow Knights can focus more on the long-range siege side of things. Dutch will bring some of their siege as well in the form of howitzers. Those will definitely help out. Halberdiers being moved onto the coastline as well to siege some of these war canoes as well as the regular canoes. Yeah, are they going to retreat? Oh, it does. Oh, it looks. Oh, so the battleship did get out alive. That's awesome. So Aztecs are going to be able to keep using this battleship. That's going to be a constant thorn in the side of the Lakota and Portuguese team for sure. But now that these ships have moved back to the river again, this means that the Portuguese army of artillery and infantry they're using can now try to join the front lines once again. But unfortunately, they're going to get shot to pieces by arrows and cannonballs from those ships that are just camping there in the river. Yeah, making pretty quick work of them with especially the battleship's crush damage. Yeah, that's going to do quite a bit. Even the arrows from these Taiwa canoes, these war canoes, well, everything except I think for the regular canoes is all crush damage. So yeah, that does a lot of damage to units because it basically ignores most units' armor, 100%. Yeah, definitely. Yep, looks like Dutch and the Aztecs again a foothold now. Hopefully they can hold on to it this time, because we've seen little times, like at the start of the game and some other times when the Dutch and the Aztecs were able to land across the other side of the river, and then they lost, and then they were having to play defense game once again. Oh, cool. The Jag Knight taking out a culverin. That's pretty nice. Nice exchange right there. And now you can move your canoes out once again. You can start attacking these walls. Can you actually reach like an estate this far back with a war canoe? I don't know exactly. I don't quite know perspective, geometry-wise, if the canoes can actually fire that far back. But we'll see, though. Having control of the water can definitely be really good. Trying to reach the shore. Yeah, that sure is really important to reach the shore. Sure it is. Yeah, definitely. Because if you don't, you're going to keep getting pressured by these Aztec ships right here. A whole other element that I didn't even touch on at the start of the game is that area of water. How that was going to turn out. It's cool to see somebody actually using the water effectively, though. That definitely puts the Lakota and Portuguese on edge, though. Definitely. And once again, we see the Aztecs starting to lose a grip on their resources, and they're going to have to start pulling back a bit. Yeah, Portuguese still have enough resources to fight at this point. They're doing Castadors. It looks like they're also adding in some of their Musketeers as well, from what it looks like. Hussars still have the factories queuing up the heavy cannons, because they're going to need these big heavy hitters to try and push back. Where are Lakota at? So Lakota's still holding on pretty good in the food area because of their bison, and then that leads to better coin results because they don't need as many on the food anymore. They can just stick them on estates and keep up the coin work. How about Dutch though? Where's Dutch? Yeah, Dutch, you know, only staying in it because of all that bank economy. If it weren't for that bank economy, they wouldn't be able to afford all those cannons and cabin stuff. Definitely keeping them in the fight, for sure. Ooh, good culverin work from Dawn there. He's doing a pretty good job against the Kaishki-Tushki culverins for sure. And now he's going to try to push in forward with some skirmishers and riders. Also his horse artillery is going to make a big difference, especially against these Castadors. You know, they're very low HP skirmisher and they're pretty easy to blast apart. Aztecs still need to make sure that they manage their units here because in general the Aztec units, you know, he doesn't have the best economy right now, so he definitely has to manage that. Like his food is basically drained, his coin is basically drained, his wood, you know, his wood's barely hanging on. Yeah, I think one big thing though that's definitely helping out here is the fact that Aztecs are just able to completely camp out here and stop one of the part of the fort from being used by the enemy, you know. And it's also acting as a bit of a diversion, forcing these Setan bowmen and also one of these mortars to actually focus on these ships here instead of focusing on the front lines, which is definitely helping out a bit. Yeah, but if we're gonna see like an actual win by the Dawn Stowe team, they definitely need to get that push going, right? Because it keeps going like a ping pong ball, right? You go ping, ping, ping on this side of the river, on that side of the river, on this side of the river, on that side. It's like a ping pong game. It's like two sides of the court. No one is able to take the ball and, you know, knock it out of the court basically. And if Dutch and Aztecs want to do that, Aztecs need to manage their resources good. Dutch need to do the same pretty much, and they need to, while doing that, make some big gains push-wise. Ideally, get some buildings here on the river. Make them stick and keep your units alive as long as possible because you're dealing with an economic powerhouse like the Portuguese and secondarily the Lakota because of their really good meat economy. Yeah, you gotta definitely keep up with that stuff because if you don't, eventually they're going to be able to knock you out of the court, right? Dutch, remember, are only on one factory at this point, so they're not quite in pristine circumstances right now. Also potentially Kaishki or someone could get a dock here and maybe throw some caravels or something at these fishing boats, which would also hurt. Yeah, that's the only sort of thing I feel like is still keeping the Aztecs going, is that fishing economy they've been really focused on since the start of the game. Pretty much. Yeah. Oh, now this is something cool that, Infinite Jag Knights. Why isn't, Aztecs keeping up with that stuff? They should be queuing these up right now. They should be queuing these Jag Knights shipments up constantly. Constantly. That should be like a mandate, because you really need that right now. You really need all the unit help that you can get right now, even if they're just acting as sort of like distractions for the skirms to just keep moving in. You gotta keep pushing forward, because now that you're giving the Lakota time, they're gonna construct more teepees again, which means more protection, more stats around that area, and it's going to take you that much longer with your mortars and your culverins from the Dutch to actually siege your way back in there again. It's ridiculous. Yeah, and then your Seatan Bowman and Wakia rifles, being war hut units, can also build actual military buildings and teepees themselves, since they are aided by battlefield construction and the nomadic expansion cards. That's literally something you have to worry about. So you gotta stay on top of that. Keep them out of this area. 100%. Wait a second. Artillery foundries on the coast? Is Kaishki... Oh, is he gonna actually use mortars to shell fishing boats? Is he gonna do that? Is that his plan, man? I see him right here. Is he actually... Yeah, I see them going... Oh, yeah, he's gonna start blowing up his... Oh, no. This is where Aztecs are kind of gonna dip really hard. Because, see, what they're doing right now is all these fishing boats that were established at the start of the game are mostly working their way on to all the remaining mink whales on the map, which is basically where Aztecs are getting their last remaining coin eagle from. Yeah, that's going to be really painful to deal with, you know. Once you completely knock out the Aztec economy to the point that it's like half of what it is now, they're basically not producing any army at all, and Dutch are on their own, right? Basically on their own, and that's like a GG. Oh yeah, I mean, you gotta definitely be careful of that. And then once you're done with that, you can take these mortars down, you can start attacking the Aztec Navy here in the water. You know, try to blast apart that battleship first. Battleship is really the big weapon you want to take out, and then you can start moving towards those canoes, trying to take those out. Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, Kaishki's even going to use heavy cannons, I think, to try to take out this battleship, because this thing is a behemoth tank on the water that Aztecs have been using for a big portion of this match. Oh, using the broadside attack to... Oh, he's using the special attack to, like, incinerate that heavy cannon. Oh no, he lost the battleship though. He sunk his battleship. That's very unfortunate. Yeah. Once you sunk that man's battleship, I think we're having some problems here. I think Aztecs are really going to struggle now. I mean, they've lost some of their coin economy, like, for their gatherers. Right? Like, what do you do now? Do you get those fishing boats back over there, or what? Can't really spare much wood at this point, because, you know, you're making coyote runners still, you're making other Twi'lek canoes, and then those are just going to get shelled by the mortars. Like, yeah. Totally a mess. Absolutely a mess. Where's Portugal? Portugal, yeah, Portugal economy is still standing strong even without the factories working on resources. That shows you how boomy the Portuguese are. Lakota's food economy is super duper strong because it's hunted food, you know. It's not like making all the corn and beans and squash that the Aztecs have to eat, you know. This bison economy, you eat really quick with that. Really quickly, especially with all the hunting cards the Lakota get. Oh, this is the sweet spot for halberdiers, right under the rider's tongue. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly where you want your halbs in. Now, if the horse artillery was in even less favorable position, the halbs could have sniped the cannons, too. They can do that, you know. They have, like base damage-wise, usually as much base damage is like most of your cavalry, like the Cossacks and Hussars. So, yeah, if you can get your halberdiers into a favorable position, they can sometimes snipe cannons even too, which is really neat. You can do that with all infantry, but the halbs are especially good for it because their hand attack is just so high. For the Portuguese, it's about, what is it like? Well, it's less now because they're in cover mode right now. What you do with cover mode is you trade off a lot of your damage and your movement speed in favor of having more armor. In particular, 50% pierce armor, which is this, and 50% crush armor, which is that. Basically making up actual phalanx to guard against range attacks, which a lot of the time can be pretty useful to use. Can be quite useful to use. And that's probably why Kaushki did that with some of his halbs at that time. Yeah. Again, seems like another ping-pong, ping situation, because now we see Lakota and Portuguese making a move again on the side of the river. You know, thankfully this time, Dutch and Aztecs again were able to fortify with noble huts and outposts, so it's not super duper easy, but, you know, they're starting to lose some of those buildings, and now you're making a bit of an opening for the club warriors to go in and club down these docks. The club warrior club is quick at work trying to club their way into your walls, and then they're going to club their way into your banks, and that's going to cause some pretty big issues, right? But even if they can't do that, I think they're just happy to take out some of these docks here and stop those annoying Quantum Oak war canoe situations going on in the water again. Definitely. This has been a pretty lengthy match, I would say. Good work on both sides of just keeping the tempo going and defending properly each time somebody comes in. Takes a lot of, you know, a lot of discipline, a lot of patience, you know, to try to fight this out. And try to find your opening. I just wonder who's going to find an opening where. Yeah, so this is a bit different. I'm noticing now from this, we do see Aztecs doing something a bit divergent here. Before they were joining their Dutch ally on the front lines. Now the Aztecs are going to sort of pave their own path. And they're going to make moves on this side here, right on this ford. Which could be used to flank the Portuguese base. Oh wow, what happened here? Looks like Kaushki is actually forced to take down his excess estates so he can put military production here. That is pretty serious, right? You normally don't want to take down your estates because they're pretty expensive. They're 600 wood. But the fact that you actually have to take those out just to fit barracks in here, that is pretty serious. And that shows you the scope of how this attack might go for the Aztecs, right? How heavy is the Aztec offense here? So they can, yeah, and they can also add in these infinite shipments of the Jags as well. You know, they can push a pretty formidable front here. And until you get a big wall of cannons and Cassadors on this side, you're gonna see some pretty good success from these units overall. Also, some Saxon cuirassiers from the European natives too. Bit of splash cavalry in there. That's pretty good. Oh wow! Look at the settlers, literally within range of the obsidian blades of these Jag Knights. Absolutely a mess. Yeah, they're gonna meet their end to these obsidian blades right now. And now these Jags are going to be able to cut through this wall, and then they're going to probably be able to cut through this wall. Yeah. Can they actually get through this little... Nah, because the treasure's in the way. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, still though, looks like Aztecs are fighting on two fronts, you know. They're using their native warriors to help fend off the Lakota for their Dutch ally, whereas the main Aztec force is going to be here trying to burn through all these walls. And slowly cut their way through this big shell that is the Portuguese defense. Because once they can start sending coyotes in here, start attacking some estates, start attacking some mills, maybe hit some from the Lakota, which are further back. Well, actually not further back, they actually got... They got an unoccupied one here, but it's not being used. Like, if they can start causing damage all over this place here, they can start doing some real damage here. Possibly pull off a win somewhere along the lines here. this is one thing Kaishri does pretty well too, is he mixes in herdable economy with his farming economy. Basically, by using herdables like these llamas, as well as these sheepies, this basically allows Kaishri to get a much better food economy, since a herdable food gather rate is far better than that from mills. Yeah, that's why we see very herdable-centric civs like the Argentines and Wars of Liberty just do really well with food. Because though it's more micro-intensive to manage the herdables, you do get a lot of reward from it, you know. The fruits of your labor are actually there when you do that. Definitely. Just like the fruits of your labor from diverting the Portuguese, because now you basically stopped the Lakota from going for any real offense at this point. The only sort of help they're getting is like the side mortar from the Portuguese, sort of trying to work their way in here. And at some, are they gonna try to blast down this noble hut? No, they're not gonna be able to, because it's, they just took that out. And what's gonna happen now? Are we gonna see like a Portuguese push through here now? So I feel like if Portuguese overcommit to this side, this is gonna give potentially the Dutch a chance to plow into the Lakota's defenses here, and they could definitely use any remaining like canoes you might be. Do they have any like reserve canoes? No. And yeah, Kaisri's actually gonna start going water now too. Like, Kaisri might end up doing the counter-offensive thing that Aztecs were doing. You know, they might be able to start getting some of their boats on there and start attacking back. That could be a pretty interesting move, honestly. So we see Legionario Musketeers and the Caçadores working here. Some artillery as well and some goons. Portuguese are throwing everything onto this line here. They want to try to plow through these war huts, I think, and try to pressure the Aztecs and knock them out, perhaps, you know. This has been a really tight ping-pong back and forth for the river on the main section. If somebody can win on this side, we might finally see a victor be claimed for one of these teams, right? If somebody can succeed here, that might be what you need to get as a win condition. Yeah. Might be needed. Arrow Knights. Yeah, so yeah, you need the Arrow Knights to take out any heavy cans that the Portuguese makes on this front. Whereas you use the Antonin Slingers and any of the Jag Knights you get from the home state to basically plow into the infantry, right? Yeah. Halberdiers coming in, taking advantage of the inherent weakness of the Antonin Slingers, you know. Antonin Slingers are okay skirmisher, but at the end of the day, very low HP skirm, which gives the Halbs a pretty fair time at dealing with them. Yeah. Yeah, look at those Halberdiers go. They're actually eating through that whole entire wave of the Antons, and now they can start to do some other combat too. One thing they gotta worry about though is Jag Knights. You know, Jag Knights are a pretty formidable counter to the Halberdier, because they end up doing over 100 damage per hit to them. That is a pretty powerful attack. A very powerful attack indeed. And now, let me check what's going on over here. Is Don Stowe doing okay? Don Stowe is struggling in resources right now. Yeah, he's actually he's giving up the entire beachhead of the river here to the Lakota, and he's falling back behind his walls, trying to scrounge together whatever army he can. And now Lakota are going to take advantage of that immediately, putting the foundation for a war hut and likely teepees as well. So right now things are pretty tight. Can the Dutch hold out long enough for the Aztecs to start making gains on this side? As we see, Aztecs have actually been forced to retreat. A complete retreat, it looks like, maybe. Yeah, a complete retreat perhaps. They might actually have to go back to help their ally out, but that means now this front is completely unguarded. You know, Halberdiers with their high 52 siege are going to start to eat into those war huts, and once they get through this one wall, not 2 or 3 walls, like one wall, some economies are going to start to get pressured here. Yeah, exactly. They're gonna start cutting their way through these estates. This Mount Athos Monastery, which is also gathering from this mine for you. This is not going to be good. Not going to be good at all. Yeah, SARS are already going to be cutting in those villages, it looks like. And I think maybe this might be the end of the Aztec Dutch team. Yeah, the Aztec Dutch team might be on its last legs at this point. What do you think? Do you think Kaisuke and the Lakota finally did what they had to do here? I think so. I think that they've won the beachhead over here for the most part. They got their buildings implanted here. You finally got a bit of a navy ready to develop on this side from that team, and then there's clearly doing some raiding over here. Trying to... looks like they're trying to damage some of that walling a bit over there, so they could make it more... Yeah, well, you got one halberdier having a field day by himself. Basically cutting through villagers at this point. If that villager's going to go down, you're going to probably lose this one. Yeah, things are just falling apart at the seams for the Aztec and the Dutch team. Things are really falling apart. Like, look at this resource stockpile. This is like death. Reeks of death. Portuguese still strong. Lakota really strong. Yeah, Dutch smaller. And then Aztecs are completely dead. What do you do at this point? What do you do at this point? Like, you can't push forward, and now you're starting to lose your ground in areas you weren't before. Right? Because at least before, you know, it seemed like Dutch and Aztecs at least had a bit of a counter to hold on to some of the beachhead. You know, all that remains now is the Aztec side. Because the Aztecs did a lot of construction over here. Yeah, space here. Oh yeah, this connector between the walls. Yeah, that'd be a good strike point right there. Definitely, I definitely agree with that. Yep. So Lakota are gonna. What dance are they? Yeah. So Lakota are on the attack dance right. No, that's Aztecs. Where are Lakota on? Yeah, they're on the attack dance still. Good. Yeah, they're going to the siege dance now. The torch. Their siege damage is gonna start going up. They're going to start ripping through walls. They're going to start going into houses. They're going to start going into banks. This is like the last legs of the Dutch at this point. Yeah. Hussars running their way through all this farmland pretty freely. Jags trying to snare them so they can wipe them out, but that's just not going to work. You're going to have to get these villas on the other side of that gate, like right... Some of them are actually running in. Like, it's almost as if they want to get cut down. That is pretty brutal, to say the least, because now, getting completely wiped out. Yeah, it's looking like GG. Yeah, Portuguese still having the ability to sling to the Lakota. I just saw they passed over 9k food to them. I can't even believe with all that bison meat, the Portuguese still have to send you, like, food and stuff. That's crazy. You know. You'd think you'd have enough with all that bison meat to last you a lifetime, but I guess not. Yep. Don Stowe just called GG. Yep, looks like it's the end of him, and then I'm imagining Aztecs will surrender at any moment now, I believe. Looks like it. Don hates that. Oh, he does, yeah. Yeah, looks like Portuguese are one of his weaknesses. Definitely. And Lakota, definitely. So let's check post-game, because this has been an hour-long game. A lot has happened here. We can really pull apart who was doing greatest eco-wise. Okay, this is pretty scary, because it looks like overall, Aztecs were actually the best economy here today. But the fact that their units work a bit differently means that they're burning through it so quickly, it almost seemed like they had the worst economy. Kind of interesting there. Portuguese economy wasn't as great as we thought it was. Lakota economy super duper strong. Because of all that bison. Dutch, yeah, they were pretty low. I kind of expected that. In terms of military, who was getting the most kill potential here? Lakota and Portuguese team. Hands down. You know, Aztecs were just not cutting it. That attack, that kill difference between like 500 or 600 units makes a big difference. Dutch not even catching up really. I mean, they were quite like 100 or so units down. Big difference. The one area Aztecs did pretty good in, like they won in, is like sieging, and that's just because of the Arrow Knights and how insane they can be. Yeah. But in the end, it didn't matter how much you could burn down. It mattered who could hold on to the land and just move forward with the necessary resources to hold on to it. In the end, that was Lakota and Portuguese. I hope you enjoyed this game. It was a nice 1 hour one. We don't always get those, you know, but when we get them, they're pretty fun. Hopefully I see you again in the next cast of game, right? I want to do as many as possible. Send them my way. I will always look at them. I will cast them for you. Sometimes I got a bit of a backlog, but I'll always do them for you. And if I know like a pup is coming out, I'll make sure to get it done super quick so we can fit in. So yeah. See you next time. I definitely want to do some more tonight, hopefully. I'm going to sign off now from this one. Good GG teams. You did a really good job this time. I really liked this 1 hour. It was well spent.